Toys, medical care, grooming, boarding when we traveled. The council called for a recess. This time it lasted for hours. Jake was escorted to a comfortable waiting room where he could rest and give Whiskers food and water. The cat seemed completely unbothered by the momentous events happening around her. She ate, used her litter box, and then curled up on Jake's lap for a nap. Jake stroked her soft fur and thought about what he had accomplished. He had been completely honest with the council, perhaps more honest than was wise, but he believed in what he had told them. Humanity's best chance at joining the galactic community was through transparency and genuine partnership. His communication device chimed. It was a message from Dr. Penny Grant, his colleague who had been monitoring from the observation deck. That was either brilliant or career-ending. The message read, "Possibly both. They're really thinking hard about this." Jake smiled and sent back a simple reply, "Trust the cat." Finally, the call came to return to the council chamber. Jake gathered up Whiskers, who complained sleepily at being disturbed, and made his way back. The atmosphere in the chamber felt different now. More settled. More decided. Jake took his position on the central platform and waited. Vexitharan stood. His scales showed a complex pattern that Jake's briefing notes suggested meant he was about to say something important and carefully considered. "Ambassador Morrison," the counselor began, "we have discussed your presentation at length. We have debated its implications. We have considered what it means for the galaxy to admit a species like humanity." Jake kept his expression neutral, but his heart was racing. Everything depended on the next few minutes. "You have shown us a predator," Vexitharan continued, "both the small one on your table and the larger one standing before us. You have been honest about your capacity for violence, for strategy, for patience. You have not hidden your dangerous nature." "We appreciate this honesty," Ambassador Karith added. Her clicking translated into words. "Many species try to appear less threatening than they are. You have done the opposite. This suggests confidence and genuine intent." Meridax chimed in, her crystalline voice clear. "You have also shown us something unexpected. You have demonstrated that humanity values partnership over dominance, that you have spent thousands of years learning to live with independent predators. This speaks well of your cultural flexibility." Vexitharan's scales shifted to a formal gold color. "The Galactic Federation accepts Earth's petition for membership. However, there will be a probationary period of 10 standard years. During this time, humanity will have limited voting rights and will be closely monitored." Jake felt relief wash over him. It was not a full acceptance, but it was far better than rejection. "We accept these terms gratefully, Counselor. Humanity looks forward to proving worthy of your trust. There is one additional condition," Vexitharan added. His scales showed what might have been amusement. "Several counselors have expressed interest in learning more about these cats. We request that Earth establish a cultural exchange program focused on human-animal relationships." Jake couldn't help but smile. "We would be honored. I'm sure we can arrange for interested parties to learn about cats and dogs and horses and many other species we've domesticated." "I wish to participate in this program," Vexitharan said. "Your small predator has intrigued me. I would like to understand this relationship better." Several other counselors expressed similar interest. Jake found himself surrounded by aliens asking questions about cats, about their care and feeding, about their behavior and training. Whiskers, sensing many new people wanting to pay attention to her, woke up and began working the crowd like a professional diplomat. She allowed various counselors to pet her, purring for some and playfully batting at others with soft paws. She seemed to understand that she had won hearts across the galaxy. Later, after the formal proceedings had ended, Jake sat in a garden area of the station with Dr. Grant. Whiskers was exploring the alien plants, sniffing curiously at flowers that had evolved on worlds light years from Earth. "I can't believe that worked," Penny said, shaking her head, bringing a house cat to demonstrate humanity's predatory nature. "It was insane." "It worked because it was true," Jake replied. "Cats really are perfect predators. And our relationship with them really does say something important about humanity. We could have shown them weapons or soldiers. We could have tried to look tough. But that would have missed the point. The point being, that strength isn't just about the ability to destroy. It's also about the wisdom to choose not to. It's about building relationships instead of dominating. It's about patience and respect and finding ways to coexist with beings who are different from you." Whiskers caught some kind of alien, insect and proudly brought it to Jake. He praised her hunting skills while gently rescuing the bug and releasing it. You're still a predator, he told the cat affectionately. But you're my predator. Over the following months, the first human embassy opened on Unity's crown. It was a modest building, but it had one distinctive feature that quickly became famous. The embassy gardens were home to a small colony of cats, gifts from Earth as gestures of goodwill. Alien visitors came from across the galaxy to see them. These small predators fascinated everyone. They hunted the station's pest problems with ruthless efficiency, then curled up in sunny spots and demanded affection from whoever passed by. They treated the galaxy's most powerful beings with the same casual indifference they showed to ordinary humans. Vextheron became a regular visitor to the embassy gardens. He had adopted a cat, a sleek black female he named Shadow. She had quickly taken over his office, sleeping on his desk and occasionally knocking his data pads onto the floor. He pretended to be annoyed, but Jake noticed the careful way he positioned his work to give Shadow the best spot in the sunlight. One day, Jake visited Vextheron's office for a diplomatic meeting. He found the counselor working on trade agreements while Shadow purred on his desk, one paw resting on a document as if helping with the review. You understand now, Jake said quietly. Watching the interaction, Vextheron's scales showed that complex blue and purple pattern Jake had learned meant contentment mixed with respect. I understand that your species is more dangerous than we initially believed. Any species that can turn a predator into family, that can wait thousands of years to achieve a goal, that can show such patience while maintaining genuine affection, that is a species to be watched carefully. He gently stroked Shadow's soft fur. She closed her eyes and purred louder. But I also understand, Vextheron continued, that this patience and strategy is paired with genuine desire for cooperation. You could have hidden your nature. You could have deceived us. Instead, you showed us exactly what humanity is capable of, and trusted us to see the partnership you offer. He paused, then added quietly, perhaps humanity can be trusted after all. Shadow opened one eye, looked at both of them, and then went back to sleep. Somewhere on Earth, Whiskers was doing the same thing, curled up on Jake's daughter's bed. The little cat who had changed the galaxy's understanding of humanity rested peacefully, dreaming whatever dreams cats dream. The apex predators slept, both the feline and the human, patient and content. They had proven something important to the galaxy, not that humanity was harmless, but that humanity understood the value of choosing cooperation over conflict, that humans could be dangerous when necessary, but preferred to be friends. In the embassy gardens, cats continued their daily routines, hunting, sleeping, playing, and accepting affection from beings who came from worlds they had never seen. They adapted to alien caretakers with the same ease they had adapted to humans 10,000 years ago. Because that was what cats did. They found comfortable places and decided to stay. They chose their companions and granted their trust. They remained perfectly capable predators who simply chose not to be enemies. And in learning to live with cats, the galaxy was learning to live with humans. Understanding that the most successful predators aren't always the ones who inspire the most fear. Sometimes they're the ones who inspire trust, who build partnerships, who prove that cooperation can be more powerful than conquest. Jake stood in the embassy gardens, watching a group of young aliens carefully petting a patient orange tabby. The cat purred and accepted their gentle attention, teaching them the same lessons cats had taught humans thousands of years ago. Patience, respect, the knowledge that the best relationships are built on choice, not force. These were the lessons that would help humanity find its place among the stars, not through weapons or threats, but through understanding and cooperation. Through showing the galaxy that humans knew how to share space with other predators, how to build partnerships that benefited everyone involved. The cat on the table had delivered its message. Now the real work of building trust could begin, one interaction at a time, one relationship at a time, just as humans and cats had done for 10,000 years. And across the galaxy, on worlds humanity had never visited, people were beginning to understand that sometimes the most important lessons about a species come from the company they choose to keep. We've created The cargo bay was cold. Kate worked quickly, her hands moving with practiced efficiency. She examined each cub carefully, noting their symptoms and vital signs. The smallest one had the worst fever. His nose was hot and dry, and his heartbeat was too fast. She decided to call him Little One in her mind. The middle cub had distinctive stripes across his back. Stripe, she named him. He was conscious but barely responsive. His breathing rattled in his chest. The largest of the three had a white patch over one eye. Patch looked at Kate with confusion and fear, but he did not pull away when she touched him. Kate started with Little One because he needed help the most urgently. She carefully inserted an IV line into his small foreleg. Her hands were gentle but sure. She had done this procedure thousands of times on humans and now on an alien child, who looked like a wolf pup. The principle was the same. Find the vein. Insert the needle. Secure the line. Start the fluids. The supplies came through the hatch as she requested. She heard the soft thud of boxes being placed in the airlock. She retrieved them quickly and returned to her patients. Antibiotics, antivirals, fever reducers, cooling blankets, monitors, everything she needed to fight. Through the transparent barrier that separated the cargo bay from the rest of the ship, Kate could see figures watching. The Volcari crew had gathered. They stood in silence, their amber eyes fixed on the human doctor who had done what none of them could. Chief Krygor stood closest to the barrier. His massive hands were pressed against the transparent surface. Kate focused on her work. She established IV lines in all three cubs. She administered broad-spectrum antivirals that she hoped would work across species barriers. She draped cooling blankets over their fevered bodies. She checked their temperatures, their heart rates, their breathing. She made notes on her tablet and adjusted dosages based on their weight and symptoms. Hours passed. Kate did not leave the cub's side. She monitored them constantly, watching for any change. Stripe's breathing became a little easier. Patch's fever dropped by 0.5 degree. Little One remained critically unstable, but he was still alive, still fighting. Night fell, or what passed for night on the ship. The lights dimmed to simulate a day-night cycle. Kate sat on the floor between the three cubs. She was exhausted, but she could not sleep. Every few minutes she checked their vitals. She adjusted blankets. She spoke to them softly. "You are doing well," she told them. "You are strong. You are fighters." She did not know if they could understand her words, but she hoped they could hear the care in her voice. She hoped they knew they were not alone anymore. She sang to them, old Earth lullabies that her mother had sung to her when she was small, songs about stars and dreams and tomorrow coming soon. Her voice was not beautiful, but it was warm and human in the cold cargo bay. Outside the barrier, the Volcari crew continued their vigil. They watched the human doctor care for cubs that their own culture had forced them to abandon. Some of them looked away, shame written clearly in their posture. Others watched with something like wonder. This small human, fragile and weak by Volcari standards, had walked into death without hesitation. On the sanctuary, Commander Zethris and Dr. Hilvar monitored the situation through remote cameras. The Centauri doctor had not left the monitoring station since Kate sealed herself in the cargo bay. "Her technique is sound," Hilvar observed. "She is doing everything correctly, but the disease progresses too quickly. Even with treatment, the statistical likelihood of survival is minimal." "And yet she tries," Zethris said. "This is very human." "It is illogical." "Perhaps." The Avorian captain tilted his crystalline head. "But I am beginning to understand why humans have proven so successful despite their physical limitations. They do not accept defeat as easily as logic would suggest they should." Dawn came. Kate had not slept. Her eyes burned with fatigue, but her hands remained steady. She changed IV bags. She wiped fevered brows with cool cloths. She checked and rechecked vital signs. Stripe opened his eyes. They were clearer than they had been the day before. He looked at Kate, and something in his expression changed. Recognition, maybe, or trust. He made a soft sound, almost like a whine. "I know," Kate said gently. "I know it hurts, but you are getting better. Can you feel it? You are getting stronger." Stripe's tail moved slightly, the tiniest wag. Kate felt her chest tighten with emotion. It was the first real sign of improvement, the first indication that her efforts might not be in vain. Outside the barrier, she heard a sound like a collective exhale. The Volcari had seen it too. Hope flickered in eyes that had held only despair. But Little One was not improving. His fever remained dangerously high. His breathing grew more labored with each passing hour. Kate increased his fluids. She adjusted his medications. She did everything she knew how to do, but the tiny cub continued to fade. By midday, Patch was showing improvement as well. His temperature had dropped significantly. He was able to lift his head and drink water on his own. But Little One lay, still, his small chest rising and falling with painful effort. Kate knelt beside him. She placed her hand on his small head. "Come on," she whispered. "Come on, Little One. Fight. Please fight." His heart rate spiked suddenly. Kate's monitor alarmed. She grabbed her stethoscope and listened. The rhythm was wrong. Irregular. Dangerous. "No," Kate said. "No, no, no." Little One's heart stopped. Kate did not think. She acted. She positioned her hands on the tiny chest and began compressions. She had never performed CPR on a Volcari before. She did not know if the technique would even work on their physiology. But she had to try. She counted compressions. She breathed for him. She checked for a pulse. Nothing. She continued. Her arms burned. Her shoulders ached. She did not stop. Outside the barrier, Chief Kragor turned away. He could not watch anymore. Other Volcari followed suit. They could not bear to witness the death of the smallest cub, even as the human refused to give up. 5 minutes of CPR. Kate's muscles screamed in protest. Sweat dripped into her eyes. She continued. 10 minutes. Her training told her to stop. Statistics told her it was over. But something deeper, something fundamentally human, told her to keep going. One more compression. One more breath. One more chance. 15 minutes. Kate's vision blurred with exhaustion and tears she did not have time to shed. Her hands moved automatically now, muscle memory carrying her through when conscious thought began to fail. And then, a flutter. The faintest movement beneath her hands. Kate froze. She pressed her fingers to Little One's neck, searching for a pulse. There, weak but present. His heart was beating again. Kate collapsed beside him, her body shaking with exhaustion and relief. She pressed her forehead against the cool floor and let the tears come. They were tears of relief, of exhaustion, of the crushing weight of responsibility that came with holding a life in your hands and refusing to let it slip away. She heard sounds from beyond the barrier. When she looked up, she saw the Volcari crew staring at her. Chief Kragor had turned back around. His amber eyes were wide. His mouth hung open slightly, showing the tips of sharp teeth. They had watched her fight death itself and win. They had watched her refuse to accept defeat even when logic and statistics and tradition all said the fight was over. They had watched a human do what they believed impossible. Kate wiped her eyes and returned to work. Little One was alive, but he was not out of danger. She adjusted his IV. She checked his vital signs. She wrapped him more securely in the cooling blanket. And then she settled beside all 3 cubs, keeping watch over them as they rested. Stripe moved closer to her, pressing his small body against her leg. Patch did the same on her other side. They sought her warmth, her presence, her protection. And Kate, exhausted beyond measure, put her arms around them and held on. On the sanctuary, Dr. Hilvar watched the monitors in silence. The Centauri doctor's large eyes blinked slowly. "Remarkable," Hilvar said softly. "Completely illogical, but remarkable." Commander Zethris nodded his crystalline head. "I am beginning to think that human medicine is less about logic and more about will. They simply refuse to let their patients die." "It is not scientifically sound," Hilvar said. But there was something in the doctor's voice that had not been there before. Something that might have been respect. In the cargo bay, Kate finally allowed herself to rest. She did not sleep deeply. Part of her mind remained alert, listening for any change in the cub's breathing, any alarm from the monitors. But she dozed, her body demanding at least a few moments of recovery. When she woke an hour later, little one's fever had dropped by 2 degrees. It was not much, but it was something. It was progress. It was hope. Kate checked on all 3 cubs and allowed herself a small smile. They were not out of danger. The disease still raged in their small bodies. But they were fighting. And as long as they fought, she would fight alongside them. She looked toward the barrier and found Chief Kragor still standing there. The massive warrior had not moved. He watched her with an expression she could not fully read. Gratitude, certainly. Wonder, perhaps. And something else. Something that looked like he was seeing humans, seeing Kate in an entirely new way. Kate nodded to him. A simple acknowledgement. I am here. I am not giving up. Your cubs will live. Kragor pressed his massive hand against the barrier again. And for the first time since Kate had met him, the great warrior's expressi. He mouthed 2 words and Stand-a Day 3 began with cautious optimism. Stripe was able to sit up on his own. Patch had eaten a little food. Little one's vital signs were still concerning, but they had stabilized. Kate felt the exhaustion deep in her bones, but she refused to rest for more than short periods. The cubs needed constant care, and she was the only one who could provide it. She did not notice the slight headache at first. She attributed it to lack of sleep and stress. But by midday, the headache had grown worse. Her throat felt scratchy. She checked her temperature with a handheld scanner and felt her stomach drop. 99.8 degrees. Elevated. Not dramatically, but enough to be concerning. Kate sat down heavily on the cargo bay floor. She ran the scanner over herself again, hoping for a different result. The number did not change. She was developing symptoms. The crimson fever had crossed the species barrier. Through the barrier, she saw Dr. Hilvar's eyes widen. The Centauri doctor was monitoring Kate's vital signs remotely. Hilvar activated the communication system immediately. Dr. Morrison, your temperature is elevated. Are you experiencing any other symptoms? Kate touched her throat. Headache. Sore throat. Mild fatigue, but that could be from not sleeping. You need to begin treatment immediately. I am sending in a full medical kit. You must isolate yourself from the cubs and focus on your own care. Kate looked at the 3 small bodies sleeping nearby. I cannot leave them. They still need monitoring. Little one especially. His condition could change at any moment. Commander Zethris's voice came through the speaker. Dr. Morrison, this is a direct order. You will separate yourself from the cubs and begin treatment protocols. Your life is at risk. So are theirs, Kate replied. If I stop treatment now, little one might not survive. Stripe and Patch are improving but still vulnerable. I cannot abandon them. You are infected, Hilvar said, his voice rising with urgency. The mortality rate is 97%. You need immediate intervention. Kate stood up, swaying slightly as the headache pulsed behind her eyes. Then send me what I need, and I will treat myself while I continue treating them. I am not leaving these cubs, silence fell. Kate could imagine the argument happening on the other side of the barrier. Regulations versus compassion. Safety protocols versus the reality of 3 children who would die without care. Finally, Hilvar spoke again. Very well. I am sending treatment, but I want vital signs every hour. If your condition deteriorates significantly, we will extract you by force if necessary. Kate nodded, even though she knew they could not force her to do anything while she remained sealed in the cargo bay. She had control of the door locks from inside, but she did not say that. Instead, she said, Understood. The medical supplies came through the hatch. Kate set up her own IV line with practiced ease. She administered the same antiviral she had given the cubs, adjusted for human metabolism. She took fever reducers and set up a monitor to track her own vital signs alongside theirs. Outside the barrier, the Volcari crew watched with something approaching awe. The human had contracted the death curse, and yet she continued to care for their cubs. She did not flee. She did not despair. She simply added herself to the list of patients and kept working. Chief Kragor stood at the barrier, his massive frame rigid with internal conflict. Kate could see the war happening behind his amber eyes. Tradition said he could not enter. Culture said the death curse would destroy him and his family. But honor, true honor, demanded something else. The great warrior made his decision. Kragor walked to the cargo bay door controls. Other Volcari crew members stepped back, their ears flattening in alarm. "Chief, no," one of them said. "The curse will take you." Kragor looked at his crew. "A human has shown more courage than all of us combined. She has no duty to our cubs. She has no connection to our people. Yet she fights for them as if they were her own. She has now contracted the fever herself and still refuses to abandon them." He pressed the door release. "If she can face this death curse for our children, then I can face it too. I will not let her stand alone." The door opened. Kragor stepped through. Kate looked up in surprise as the massive Volcari warrior entered the cargo bay. The door sealed behind him. "What are you doing?" Kate asked. Kragor knelt beside the cubs. His huge hands hovered over Stripe's sleeping form, trembling slightly. Thousands of years of cultural prohibition warred with instinct and love. Finally, slowly, he placed his hand on his cub's head. Stripe stirred and opened his eyes. When he saw his father, the cub made a sound of pure joy. He tried to get up, but he was still too weak. Kragor carefully gathered the cub into his arms, holding him gently despite the warrior's obvious strength. "I am here," Kragor said, his deep voice breaking. "I am here, little one. Forgive me for not coming sooner." Outside the barrier, the other Volcari watched in stunned silence. Their chief had broken the ultimate taboo. He had touched a cub infected with the death curse. And the world had not ended. The ship had not exploded. Nothing catastrophic had happened. One by one, other warriors made their choice. They entered the cargo bay. Mothers and fathers who had been forced by tradition to abandon their sick children now reclaimed them. The cargo bay filled with Volcari family members, all of them touching and holding the cubs they had thought lost forever. Kate watched through fevered eyes. She felt her temperature climbing. Her headache had become severe. But she also felt something else, a deep satisfaction. She had not just saved 3 cubs. She had broken a curse of fear that had paralyzed an entire culture. Kragor approached Kate. "Teach us," he said. "Teach us how to care for them. We have the courage to be here now, but we do not have the knowledge." Kate nodded. Despite her worsening symptoms, she began to teach. She showed them how to check vital signs, how to administer medication, how to adjust IV drips, how to monitor for changes in condition. The Volcari learned quickly, their natural intelligence overcoming their lack of medical training. By evening, Kate's fever had spiked to 103 degrees. She was dizzy and nauseous. But around her, Volcari parents cared for their cubs under her guidance. They did what they should have been able to do from the beginning. Little one's mother, a smaller Volcari with gray fur, sat beside Kate. She held her cub carefully while tears ran down her furry cheeks. "Thank you," she said in halting standard Galactic. "Thank you for saving my baby. Thank you for showing us we were wrong." Kate managed a weak smile. "You were not wrong. You were afraid. Fear is natural, but love is stronger than fear. You are proving that now." On the sanctuary, Dr. Hilvar worked frantically. The Centauri doctor had been analyzing Kate's blood samples from before the infection. Something remarkable was happening in her immune system. Her antibodies were adapting to the crimson fever virus at an unprecedented rate. "Commander," Hilvar said urgently, "you need to see this." Zethris examined the data. "What am I looking at?" Dr. Morrison's immune response. "Her body is producing antibodies that are highly effective against the crimson fever virus, more effective than anything we have seen. Human immune systems evolved on Earth, where they encountered thousands of different pathogens. They are remarkably adaptable." "Can you use this?" Zethris asked. Hilvar's large eyes gleamed with excitement. "I believe I can synthesize a treatment. If I can replicate these antibodies, we can create a cure, not just for Dr. Morrison and the cubs, but for crimson fever itself." The Ivorian captain was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "She violated direct orders. She exposed herself to a fatal disease. By all logic, she should be reprimanded." "Yes," Hilvar agreed. "And yet, if she had followed orders, 3 cubs would be dead. The Volcari culture would still be trapped by their fear of this disease, and we would not be on the verge of developing a cure that could save thousands of lives across multiple species." Hilvar looked at the Ivorian commander. "I was wrong about her. I called her illogical, reckless, emotionally compromised. But perhaps human medicine needs emotion. Perhaps that is what makes it effective." "Begin synthesizing the treatment," Zethris ordered. How long will it take? 12 hours. Perhaps less if I prioritize speed over perfection. Then work quickly, Doctor. We have a human to save, and after that we have a galaxy to heal. In the cargo bay, Kate's condition continued to worsen, but she was not alone. Chief Kregor sat beside her, keeping vigil. The cubs slept peacefully, cared for by their families, and outside the barrier, the entire crew of both ships watched and waited, hoping that the human doctor who had defied death would survive her own battle with the curse she had dared to challenge. R.D. Gala. Kate woke to the sound of voices. Her head felt heavy, her thoughts slow and thick like honey. She tried to remember where she was. The cargo bay, the cubs. The fever. She forced her eyes open. The lights seemed too bright. She was lying on something soft. A blanket, she realized. Someone had covered her while she slept. Her IV line was still in place, but someone had changed the bag. Fresh fluids dripped steadily into her arm. She is awake, a deep voice said. Chief Kregor. Kate turned her head slowly. The movement made the cargo bay spin. Kregor knelt beside her, his amber eyes filled with concern. Beyond him, she could see the 3 cubs. They were sitting up, all 3 of them. Even little one. The cubs, Kate whispered. Her throat was raw. They are better? Yes, Kregor said. Their fevers have broken. They are eating and drinking. You saved them, Dr. Morrison. Kate tried to smile, but her face felt numb. How long have I been asleep? 14 hours. Your fever climbed very high. We thought we would lose you. The warrior's voice broke slightly, but Dr. Hilvar developed a treatment. It is made from your own blood. Your antibodies. Kate processed this slowly. Her own antibodies, of course. Her immune system had been fighting the virus. If Hilvar could isolate and replicate those antibodies, they could treat not just her, but anyone with crimson fever. Did it work? She asked. Your temperature is 98.6 degrees. Normal for a human. The treatment worked. You are recovering. Relief washed over Kate. She closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of fear lift from her chest. She would live. The cubs would live. Everyone would live. Stripe wobbled over to her, his small legs still unsteady. He pressed his nose against her hand. Kate stroked his fuzzy head, marveling at how much stronger he looked compared to the dying cub she had first encountered. They have been asking for you, Kregor said, in their own way. They know you saved them. Patch and Little One joined Stripe, all 3 cubs crowding around Kate. They made soft whining sounds and licked her hands. It was the most beautiful sound Kate had ever heard. The sound of life and health and hope. Over the next 3 days, Kate's strength returned. She continued to stay in the cargo bay, even though Hilvar cleared her as no longer contagious. The cubs needed her, and she found she needed them too. They had bonded during those dark hours of fever and fear. The Volcari parents stayed as well, learning everything Kate could teach them about medical care. They were eager students determined to never again be helpless in the face of illness. Kate showed them basic first aid, how to recognize symptoms, how to provide comfort and treatment. Word of Kate's actions spread through the galactic communication networks. The Galactic Health Consortium received thousands of inquiries. News agencies wanted interviews. Medical schools wanted her to speak, but Kate declined all of them. She was content to stay in the cargo bay with her patients, watching them grow stronger each day. Commander Zethris and Dr. Hilvar visited on the 4th day. Kate sat on the floor, surrounded by cubs who climbed over her like she was a piece of furniture. Stripe had claimed her lap. Patch was chewing on her shoelace. Little One slept against her side, his small body rising and falling with peaceful breaths. Dr. Morrison, Zethris said, we need to discuss your actions. Kate looked up at the crystalline commander. Am I being reprimanded? That depends on your perspective, Zethris said. You violated direct orders. You exposed yourself to deadly danger. You disregarded safety protocols. By consortium regulations, these are serious offenses. Kate waited. She was too tired to be defensive. She had done what needed to be done. She would do it again. However, Zethris continued, you also saved 3 lives. You developed a cure for a disease that has killed thousands. You fundamentally changed the relationship between the Galactic Health Consortium and the Volcari people. You demonstrated that human approaches to medicine have significant value. The commander paused. The consortium leadership is divided on how to respond to your actions. Dr. Hilvar stepped forward. I have submitted a formal recommendation. I believe that the consortium's protocols need revision. Rules are important, but they should serve life, not restrict it. Dr. Morrison showed us that sometimes the right thing to do is not the safe thing or the approved thing. It is simply the necessary thing. Kate was surprised. Hilvar, who had argued so strongly against her initial decision, was now defending her. The Centauri doctor met her gaze. You taught me something important, Dr. Morrison. Logic and caution have their place. But medicine is not purely logical. It requires compassion. It requires courage. It requires the willingness to risk yourself for others. Humans understand this instinctively. The rest of us need to learn it. What happens now? Kate asked. Now, Zethra said, we implement changes. The consortium is establishing new guidelines. Emergency medical situations will allow for greater doctor discretion. We are incorporating human medical philosophy into our training programs. Your actions have started something significant, Dr. Morrison. I just wanted to save the cubs, Kate said quietly. I know, Zethris replied. That is precisely why your actions matter. You did not think about galactic politics or medical philosophy. You saw children who needed help and you helped them. Sometimes the most profound changes come from the simplest motivations. Chief Kragor entered the cargo bay. Behind him came a procession of Volcari warriors, all dressed in ceremonial armor. They formed two lines, creating a path. Kragor approached Kate and knelt before her. Dr. Kate Morrison, he said formally. On behalf of the Volcari people, I present you with this. He held out a blade. It was beautiful, with an intricately carved handle and a gleaming edge. This is a warrior's honor blade. It is given only to those who have shown the greatest courage. You are the first non-Volcari to receive this honor in our entire history. Kate carefully took the blade. It was lighter than she expected. I do not know what to say. Say you will accept our gratitude, Kragor replied. Say you understand that you are now family to every Volcari. Say you will teach us to be as brave as you are. Kate felt tears prick her eyes. I was not brave. I was just doing my job. No, Kragor said. You were terrified. We could smell your fear that first day. But you acted anyway. That is what courage is. Not the absence of fear, but action in spite of it. We Volcari pride ourselves on being warriors, but we could not touch our own sick children. You, a healer from another world, walked into death for cubs that were not yours. You showed us what true strength looks like. The other Volcari warriors raised their voices in a haunting harmony. It was a song, Kate realized. A song of honor and respect. They sang for her, this small human who had done what they could not. When the song ended, Kragor stood. You will always have a home among the Volcari, Dr. Morrison. You will always have family. And these three cubs, he gestured to Stripe, Patch, and Little One. They call you by a special name now, Brave Mother, because that is what you are to them. Kate hugged the cubs, burying her face in their soft fur. She had come to this ship expecting to provide emergency medical care. She had not expected to become part of a family. She had not expected to change lives or to have her own life changed in return. But that was the thing about medicine, Kate thought. It was never just about treating symptoms or fixing bodies. It was about connection. It was about seeing someone in need and choosing to help, regardless of the cost. It was about refusing to accept that some lives were not worth fighting for. She had learned that truth on Earth. She had carried it into space. And now, in a cargo bay light years from home, surrounded by alien children who had become her own, she knew that truth would guide her for the rest of her career. Some things transcended species. Some things transcended culture. Compassion was one of them. And humans, Kate thought with quiet pride, understood compassion better than most. The day of departure arrived too quickly. Kate stood in the cargo bay that had been her home for nearly 2 weeks. The space looked different now, clean and empty, ready to return to its original purpose. But Kate would always see it as it had been, filled with 3 dying cubs and a choice that changed everything. The cubs were completely healthy now. They ran and played with the endless energy of young creatures who had forgotten they had ever been sick. Little One, who had nearly died in Kate's arms, now wrestled with his brothers, his small body strong and vital, but they had not forgotten Kate. When she knelt down, all 3 cubs rushed to her, climbing over each other to be closest. They whined and licked her face, their tails wagging furiously. Kate hugged them, breathing in their warm puppy smell, trying to memorize this moment. They do not want you to go, Little One's mother said softly. The female Volcari stood nearby. watching her cub with eyes that still held traces of the fear she had lived with for so long. "Neither do we. I know," Kate said. "I do not want to leave them either. But I have other patients waiting, other people who need help." Chief Kragor entered the cargo bay. His ceremonial armor gleamed in the light. Behind him came the rest of his crew, all dressed formally. This was a warrior's farewell, Kate realized. An honor given to family. "Dr. Morrison," Kragor said, "before you go, I must tell you something. What you did here will not be forgotten. Not by my people, not by the galaxy. You showed us that tradition can be wrong. That fear can be overcome. That sometimes the bravest thing is to simply care." He placed a hand on her shoulder. The gesture was gentle despite his enormous strength. "The Volcari clans have declared you honorary family. You are welcome in any Volcari home on any Volcari world. Your name will be taught to our cubs. The human who broke the death curse." Kate felt her throat tighten with emotion. "I just did what any doctor would do." "No," Kragor said firmly. "You did what any doctor should do, but most would not. There is a difference." The cubs refused to let Kate go easily. She had to gently extract herself from their embrace, promising she would visit. Chief Kragor finally picked up his cubs, one under each massive arm, while Little One's mother collected her son. The cubs whimpered and reached for Kate as she walked toward the airlock. "We will send pictures," Kragor promised. "Every week. You will watch them grow." Kate nodded, not trusting herself to speak. She stepped through the airlock and returned to the sanctuary. The door sealed behind her with a soft hiss. Through the window, she could see the Volcari crew standing at attention, saluting her in their traditional way. The cubs struggled in their parents' arms, still trying to reach her. Commander Zethris met her in the corridor. "The Volcari transport is preparing to depart. Dr. Hilvar is waiting for you in the medical bay. There is something you should see." Kate followed the crystalline commander to the medical bay. Dr. Hilvar stood at a console surrounded by data displays. The Centauri doctor turned when they entered. "Dr. Morrison," Hilvar said, "I have completed the analysis of the Crimson Fever cure. The treatment derived from your antibodies is 98% effective across all mammalian species tested. The Galactic Health Consortium has approved it for immediate distribution." Hilvar pulled up a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked locations where crimson fever outbreaks had been reported over the past century. There were hundreds of them, thousands of lives lost. "All of these deaths can now be prevented," Hilvar said quietly, "because you refused to follow orders, because you chose to act instead of observe, because you were willing to risk everything for 3 children who were not even your species." Kate stared at the map. Each red dot represented families torn apart by disease, parents who had lost children, children who had lost parents. All of that suffering could end now. "I did not think about any of that," Kate said. "I just saw cubs who needed help." "That is exactly my point," Hilvar replied. "You did not calculate odds. You did not consider galactic implications. You simply acted with compassion. And that compassion may save more lives than any calculation could have." Commander Zethris cleared his throat. "Dr. Morrison, you have received a formal offer from the Galactic Medical Academy. They want you to lead a new program teaching human medical philosophy to practitioners from other species. It is a prestigious position. You would work at the Central Academy on Centaurus Prime." Kate was quiet for a moment. Teaching at the academy would mean comfort, respect, influence. She could shape the future of galactic medicine. She could train thousands of doctors. "I appreciate the offer," she said finally, "but I need to decline." Both Zethris and Hilvar looked surprised. "May I ask why?" the commander asked. Kate smiled. "Because there are patients out here who need help. People in remote places where regulations matter less than results, where doctors have to make difficult choices every day. That is where I am needed, not in a classroom on Centaurus Prime." "You wish to remain on the sanctuary?" Zethris asked. "Even after everything that happened?" "Especially after everything that happened," Kate said. "I understand the mission better now. We do not just provide medical care. We provide hope. We show people that their lives matter, regardless of species or circumstance." "I want to continue doing that," Hilvar nodded slowly. "I understand. And for what it is worth, I'm glad you are staying. I have learned much from working with you. I would like to learn more." "Then we will learn from each other," Kate said. "Your caution and logic, my instinct and compassion. Together we can provide better care than either of us could alone." The sanctuary's communication system chimed, a new distress call. Somewhere in the galaxy, someone needed help. Commander Zethris checked the details. A mining colony on the outer rim. They report an outbreak of respiratory illness. The population is mixed species, mostly workers from low-income backgrounds. They have minimal medical facilities. Kate was already moving toward the supply room. How long until we arrive? 6 hours. Then I will prepare the medical supplies. Dr. Hilvar, can you pull up any information we have on common respiratory illnesses in that region? Already on it, the Centauri doctor replied. As Kate gathered supplies, she thought about the cubs. By now, the Volcari transport would be preparing to jump to faster-than-light travel. Stripe, Patch, and Little One would be returning to their home world, healthy and whole. They would grow up with a story to tell. The story of a human doctor who saved them when everyone else had given up. But Kate knew the real story was bigger than that. It was about choosing action over fear. It was about valuing life over regulations. It was about understanding that sometimes the most important thing a doctor could do was simply refuse to accept defeat. A young medical student appeared in the doorway. She was Centauri, with the same large eyes and gray skin as Dr. Hilvar. She watched Kate work with obvious curiosity. Dr. Morrison, the student said hesitantly. I heard what happened with the Volcari cubs. Is it true? Did you really enter the quarantine zone without permission? Kate paused in her work. She looked at the young student, seeing in her the next generation of galactic medicine. Yes, she said simply. It is true. Were you afraid? Terrified, Kate admitted. But I was more afraid of letting them die without trying to help. The student was quiet for a moment. Then she said, We learn in medical school that we should always follow protocols. That safety and procedure come first. But you did not follow protocols. Kate finished packing her medical kit. She turned to face the student directly. Protocols exist for good reasons. They keep us safe. They ensure consistent care. But protocols are guidelines, not absolute laws. There will be times in your career when you have to choose between the rules and doing what is right. Those are the hardest decisions you will ever make. How do you know which choice to make? The student asked. Kate smiled. You ask yourself one question. Am I doing this because it is easiest for me, or because it is best for the patient? If the answer is the patient, then you are probably making the right choice, even if it is the hard one. The student nodded thoughtfully. Thank you, Dr. Morrison. I hope I can be as brave as you someday. You will be, Kate said. When the moment comes, you will know what to do. Trust your training, but also trust your heart. Both are important. The student left, and Kate returned to her preparations. Through the window, she could see stars streaming past as the sanctuary accelerated toward the mining colony, toward new patients, toward new challenges. Dr. Hilvar entered the supply room. I have completed the analysis of respiratory pathogens common to that region. I have also prepared treatment protocols based on both standard procedures and, I must admit, some human intuition about what might work. Kate grinned. Human intuition? Dr. Hilvar, I'm impressed. The Centauri doctor's expression might have been a smile. It was hard to tell. You are teaching me that medicine requires more than logic. It requires understanding, empathy, the willingness to take risks for those who cannot take them themselves. These are lessons worth learning. Together, they finished the preparations. When everything was ready, Kate took a moment to check her messages. Chief Kragor had sent a photo. All 3 cubs were piled together, sleeping peacefully. The message with it was simple. They dream of their brave mother. As do we all. Travel safely. The galaxy needs more humans like you.